I want to get everybody to thank and welcome our next guest. He was a Tampa Bay Buccaneer for a long time, Mr. Demar Dotson. Welcome
What's
on, Mr.
up? What's
Demar.
up? What's up, man?
What's
Thank y'all.
going on, my man?
I'm joining y'all guys while I'm at the beach, man. A little family time at the beach. So,
Look, multitasking. Look, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you taking time away from your family first and foremost. Family's first before everything, and we appreciate that.
always. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. Having you on is a really cool moment. I've spoke with you a few times and told you that, I was really excited when you responded and agreed to the interview. And it was cool because I watched you years and years and years actually, play on the field. And you were one of those quiet guys. You did your talking on the field. And when you talked, we spoke the other day and I said, man, I have a problem finding more highlight reels of you than I do of you actually, critiquing yourself for a bad game.
Offensive lineman, man, we don't have no highlights, man. That's all for the running backs and the receivers and the quarterbacks and stuff like that, the DBs. We don't got no highlights, man.
Look, unsung heroes. And just in that honor, I have an offensive lineman's jersey on just to honor the actual ideology of the big man.
That's the man right there, man. That is the man right there. Tristan Wirfs, that is the guy.
Look, I bet Tristan has earned every penny of that statement right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no doubt, every penny of it.
Well, I got a couple of questions that we discussed, and I'd like to go over them. First off, what I want you to do is potentially tell some of the people that may not know out there in Buck Nation a little bit about your journey through your college career and into the professional careers and being a retired vet from the NFL.
Well, man, I started off as a basketball player. That was my lifetime dream right there. I thought I had aspirations going to the NBA, and quickly realized, that wasn't going to happen. So when I went to college on a basketball scholarship. Played 4 years of basketball, man, got to my fifth year, and one of the strength coaches came up to me and plugged in my ear that I should go out and play football. Now, here I'm already about 22 years old. My fourth year in college, never played football before, never had no aspiration of football, never put on a helmet or anything. So when he first told it to me, man, it went out of one ear to the other. So I remember we was in our last game playing Memphis, and we was losing. I was sitting on the bench, and I was like, man, what I'm going to do next? I don't know what I'm going to do next. Like, college about to end. I know I ain't going to the NBA. Like, I don't know what next. So, it just put in my ear, like, let's go out there and just give it a shot. I didn't have nothing to lose, so I went in there to the next day and went and talked to Larry Fedora. He was our head football coach at the time. And I sit in his office, I told him, I said, hey, Larry, I want to play football. And he looked at me and said, when was the last time you ever played? I told him straight up, I said, I never played before in my life. And he almost looked at me, I was crazy. He was like, what you want me to do? And me and him, we still had that conversation today. I talk to Larry all the time. And he still said, man, that blows my mind. When you came and sit on my couch that day and told me you wanted to play football. So he gave me opportunity, man. I'm grateful for this day that he gave me opportunity. I went out there, they put me at defensive line. I played in about 3 or 4 games, didn't do much. But there was one scout that came and gave me opportunity, man. That was a guy named by the name of Don Green. He was a scout for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the time. And he looked at me and said, God, man, you look like an offensive tackle. So he went back to Tampa, man. He said, hey, I got 6'9", basketball player, raw, he never played before. Hey, man, we need to bring him in here on the trial. And that's what he did. I came to rookie minicamp in 2009 on a trial basis. I had no cleats. I went out there for 3 days in basketball shoes, and hey, I made the team. And that was the beginning of my journey right there.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. When you actually
let me tell you this. Most people don't know. When I went down, I didn't bring no cleats to the trials. I don't know what I was thinking. So I went into the equipment room and I said, hey, I need a pair of cleats. They asked me what size do I wear. I told them I wear 18. Man, they cussed me out so bad. Name in the book, man. Like, what the hell you think you doing here? You a trial guy and you don't bring no cleats? He said, we don't have no 18s. So he gave me a size 16 shoe. I wear 18. He gave me a 16 shoe. So
Oh,
You made the team in a 16 in a shoe size two sizes smaller. Holy, look, that in itself is a feat of its own, man. That's cool, Demar.
Well, let me tell you, I went out there and I put those 16s on, and they was killing my feet, man. I had blisters, my feet were bleeding and everything. So what I did, I went and cut the toes out. I cut the whole toes out, and then back then we were doing 2-a-days. We were
Oh
doing
yeah.
2-a-days. And so in the afternoon practice, I cut the toes out, and went out there. Now my toes are sticking out. They stepping on my toes. They blistered. They bleed. And I said, hey man, I'm just gonna go put my basketball shoes back on. So I finished the practice. I finished in basketball shoes. So
how was that year in college? Transitioning from we've seen a lot of them. Look, one of the greatest tight ends in the history of the NFL was a phenomenal basketball player before he was a Hall of Fame football player in Antonio Gates. So tell us a little bit about that transition in that first year.
Then when I went out there, I was raw. So they try to find a position that I can pick up kind of fast. They thought about putting him in offensive lineman, but they said, it's going to take the guy too long because I only had really a half a season. I just had for that, August to December. So they were trying to find somewhere quick for me to go, for me to play it. So they knew that offensive tackle was going to be a little hard position for me to pick up in that one season. They tried me at tight end, and they realized quickly that I couldn't catch. So they said, that ain't, so they found the best position to put me in. That was a defensive lineman. They said, hey, man, go straight or go right or left. So that was kind of the easiest position that they put me in. And I didn't play much, man. I tell people, man, I had 2 tackles. Oh, I don't want to get hit by one of these birds. But I tell people, man, I had 2 tackles, man, my whole senior year playing football. And one of the man, the guy ran into me.
Wow. That's a cool thing. And obviously hearing about, your story about college and the transition, I can almost tell you who your favorite college coach would be. But who was your favorite coach to play for and why in the NFL?
Man, that's a tough one because I always put it almost in between 2 guys, man. Raheem Morris was my first coach. So I always, I got a great value for Raheem because he's the guy that gave me my opportunity. I remember in rookie minicamp, Raheem looked at me and said, why the guy got basketball shoes on? And he everybody said, man, this is the kind of guy we need on our team right here. So I know I'm always endowed to, Raheem because he gave me the opportunity. But I always tell people, man, Greg Schiano, reason why I love Greg Schiano, because that guy gave me my opportunity to start. So it's a toss-up between them two, man. The guy who gave me the opportunity to be in the NFL and be on this team, and the guy who gave me my first opportunity to be a starting right tackle in the NFL. So, it's always a toss-up between those 2 guys there. But every coach I always had, man, I played for, from Lovie Smith, from Dirk Carter, to even Bruce Arians, man. I got much respect for every one of those guys.
Man, that's awesome. Now, listen, one of the cool things that we've seen over the last few years in Buck Nation has been a culture change. So tell us a little bit about the differences that you see when you were, because, like back when we talked earlier before the show, and I told you, like the talent on those teams that you were on year in and year out was high and above, but things just didn't click. And a lot of, in my opinion, I believe culture had a lot to do with that. Now, tell us a little bit about the differences that you see that are impacting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a positive nature today.
Well, when Bruce came in, I knew this team was going to start winning right there because Bruce brought that winning mentality. Bruce ain't no loser, man. Everywhere that Bruce done been, he done won. And I knew when he came, he was going to change that whole culture because he's the type of guy, he's not going to accept losing. Like, he's going to do everything within the organization to make sure the organization put the pieces around him to be successful. And I just hate that he came, when I was in my year 11 and stuff, and at the end of my career, when I couldn't experience that, success that he was going to bring. But I knew when they went out and got Tom Brady, man, and when it got Gronk and all those guys like that, man, I knew they was going to win a Super Bowl that year because they had all the pieces that, they needed to go and win. And people ask me all the time, say, man, you was there 11 straight years, and then they want to go out and get all these pieces, man, and go win the Super Bowl. Say, how you feel? Now I said, I ain't gonna lie, man, I was kind of pissed off at first, man. But you know what I'm saying? I couldn't have got over it, man. I had to realize, man, it just wasn't my timing. But I still, man, I know all those guys. I knew most of those guys, and I was happy for those guys. And did I want a ring? Hell yeah, I wanted a ring. But I guess it wasn't my time, man. It wasn't for me. But all those guys that were like,
I've told Derek that when he told me about you were coming on, you were one of the players that I specifically stated that I felt we should have kept and gone and got that ring in 2020. I understood why you and the Bucks parted ways, but I still wish we could have kept you and a few others to enjoy that success with the team. I mean, Will Goldston got the opportunity. Yeah. Levante, put in the work, got the opportunity. I wish you could have gotten that opportunity with us.
Oh, I second that.
I wish too, but hey, man, I'm grateful for the opportunity that God gave me though. 12 years.
Absolutely.
Hey, man, from a guy who never played 1 year college football, never played football before, to be a 12-year NFL player, an 8-9-year starter, man, I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for what God gave me.
Well, let's keep the focus on that timeline, because my next question is kind of interesting, because let me preface this by saying this. I'm a Noel fan. By the way, Ireland tomorrow, Florida State, Georgia Tech. Let's go. Seamus is actually going to be the guest speaker on College Football Live.
That's my guy right there, man. That's my guy.
Hey, I was going to say, let me ask this one real quick.
Go ahead.
So I was at this game tomorrow, and I'm referencing the season finale against the Falcons in 2019 season.
Okay.
When that pass left Jameis's hand, what went through your mind?
Hold on, say it again. Which pass you talking about?
The interception in overtime that led to the Falcons score.
Against the last game of the year of the season?
Yes, sir.
Man, I don't even know if I can even remember it. I don't even know if I can remember that.
I was going to say, that would have been the game that he was famous for the I'm balling and check my stat sheet.
Okay. Hey.
Now,
I'll agree with him, bro. He did all.
I want to say this. I preface this because I'm a Florida State fan. I am still a Jameis Winston fan. I'm also a guy about accountability, and we've spoke about this off screen, and I'll say it on screen. The guy has to be accountable for the mistakes he made and the choices to maybe not fix certain things that could have helped him be a better ball player. But I also said, and I said this to you, and I've said this to Buck Dad, I've said it on the Plunder before, the organization didn't have it together when they had that guy. And if he'd had the right pieces, you and I both agreed, Demar, that if Bruce Arians would have had 3 to 5 years with Jameis, we wouldn't have had Tom Brady to win us a Super Bowl, and we very well could have won that Super Bowl with Jameis Winston.
I believe.
Let me say this about Jameis, man. Jameis a winner. You got to realize Jameis came from Florida State, and he didn't do nothing but win. So that's the mentality that Jameis got. A lot of times he tried to do too much because he wanted to win so bad. And sometimes it got him in trouble, but it was just the heart that guy had, man. He was a great locker room guy, and I love Jameis to life, man. I love that guy so much. But, every time he stepped on that field, that guy had a heart to go out there and fight for his teammates and put it on the line and do everything he could to win. So it's big up to Jameis.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up to Jameis. Look, the next question I got is kind of interesting because I'm curious about this. Who was the biggest – now, pardon me – who was the biggest jerk or asshole in the locker room, and who was the biggest prankster in the locker room when you were playing in Tampa?
Oh, man, who was the biggest jerk? I don't know if I really want to call somebody a jerk, man.
Those are my words.
That's kind of a tough word, man.
Well,
some guys can be hard asses in those locker rooms. And
who was the most serious about everything?
Who was the most serious?
Yeah.
Who was really serious? Who you couldn't joke with?
If I had to say somebody was the most serious, man, I would have to say on the Donegan, Sue. When Sue came, Sue was just that serious type mentality guy, man. you didn't see him smile much, man. But once you get to talking to him, you realize he's a good guy at heart. But man, he's a no nonsense guy, man. He's just like straightforward all the time. Sometimes you try to mess with him and get him a smile, man. As long as you don't man, you good. So,
Absolutely.
one of those guys that I say always serious. One of the pranksters guys that I enjoyed to be around the guy. I don't know if you knew the guy by Bobby Raiden. He used to be a running back. He came in for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's one of the guys that I always had a good time with. He always had a smile on his face. He's always laughing, trying to be the bright light in the locker room. So Bobby was one of those guys that, I always looked at as a guy that, a prankster and just try to make people laugh. And, you always see a smile on his face. So that's a guy that I would put as a prankster.
All right. Well, now let's see if you'll really give us some meat and potatoes right here, because I'd like to see if you'd inform us on maybe a funny or embarrassing moment that maybe not many people in Buck Nation know about you that happened in or around the organization.
Well, funny as embarrassing. One, I could probably say, you guys might not know this, and I hope I can say this on this show, man. Without
You're at your own freedom.
I think this was like 2011. How the media guys come into the locker room after the game. We had a game that comes into the locker room. So right. I was coming out the shower, and you know how we guys, man. We in the locker room. We come out naked. It is what we do. We don't know that the media in and and stuff like that.
Right.
So I guess the cameras was interviewing another player. I can't remember who that player was. So I guess as I'm coming out the locker room naked, they doing a live shot, and on live TV, man, they can see just a little swip of my man who will come across the camera. Everybody in the locker room knew who that was, man. So
that is epic.
Look, I really appreciate that one. That one's brought that look. I don't know if I don't even want to ask another question. I don't think we can top that response. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what we're going to ask you next is I want to kind of test your humility a little bit, because I valued you as a player. I mentioned that to you before. We've actually been friends on Facebook for quite a few years, going back to my personal page. And that's because I really I was a fan of yours. And where today would you rank yourself amongst the 32 starting right tackles in the league?
The 32.
You placed yourself in there. If you were a GM, where would you place yourself?
Well, I'm glad they done put Tristan to the left, so you know what I'm saying. I'm
good. Your spot opened back up.
Yeah. And speaking of Tristan, man, I met that guy a couple of times. As bad as I wanted to win a Super Bowl, man, to be replaced, by a guy that caliber, I actually feel good about myself.
Absolutely. We were look. I mean, I actually told you this: the Buccaneers, to have you when they trusted you for that starting job, and you went in and you stayed in. It might have been a couple of injuries and whatnot, but that was the only reason you came out of the game. But to have you for the length of time that we did, to have that dependability, and then to get what we've gotten for the last few years and a few more years, and almost $70 million later? What was it?
180.
Are you talking about Tristan?
Tristan's, yeah. What was his contract? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, whatever it was,
it was worth every penny. It was worth every penny, and he's the highest paid. We call him a hybrid tackle.
A hybrid tackle?
A hybrid tackle. He's one of those guys that you can transition and can dominate, but there's, single-digit percentage of players in the history of the game that can do that.
Oh, yeah, man. He went over the left and didn't skip a beat. Look, he got better.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long, because I know, again, you're out there with your family. So before we head out of here, tell us a little bit about Demar Dotson after football.
So, so this is going to my 4th year of retirement. You know, man. A lot of guys when they go through retirement, man, it's that hard to find that niche after life after football. You know, trying to find out what you're gonna do, what's gonna bring you that excitement. You know, that Sunday did, that going running out the tunnel did. You know, it took me a little while to find it. You know, I tried the restaurant business. You know, that didn't really work out too well for me. But you know, the last year and a half, you know, what I did, I got into the financial industry. You know, I'm doing financials. I'm doing life insurance. And reason why I got into it, I went and got all my license. You know, it took me about a year or so to get all my license. Reason why I got into it because I want to educate, my people on how to save money, how to, invest for retirement and stuff like that. Because a lot of things that I started learning about, investing in money and stuff, I didn't even know it while I was playing. You know, I had a financial advisor, and a lot of things that I learned, I didn't even learn myself. You know, no one even taught it to me. So, the reason I got into it because I want to go help people, save money, educate people on how money works, and help people, save for the retirement. Because you go back into my community, this is where I'm from, a lot of people, they work their whole life and they get to 60, 65 years old when it's time to retire, and they don't have much money to live off of. They got to go back to work. So I want to teach people that, you can start putting a little money away right now, show them how it works, teach them how it works, that now when you get to 60, 65 years old, when you're ready to sit back down, when you're ready to sit down, you got some money to live off of. When you get to that age, man, you want to be able to work because you want to, not because you have to. So that's what
Absolutely.
Last year and a half.
Look, that's awesome, man. Look, I cannot thank you enough. I don't know if Buck Dad, you got anything else for Mr. Dotson?
No, man. This is the two questions I had. We got to get answered, but it's been a real honor having him on here and get to just reminisce in a way.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm
Hear
glad
names he spoke names. He spoke one specific name that I'm pretty sure 90% of Buck Nation don't even remember. Wow. Yes,
and
yes.
Back in the day, I played with some bad guys, man. That names like Donald Penn, man, and Davin.
Oh yeah, he was a dog.
Man, Davin Dozer was one of the best right guards in the NFL at the time, and I had opportunity to play next to. So we had some studs back in those days, man. That across that offensive line that we played with.
Oh yeah, that's why I said earlier, those teams you were on in your later portion of your career with Tampa were really good, put together teams. But you spoke of Raheem Morris, and look, no disrespect to your friendship and your view of Raheem, but fuck the Falcons, straight up, on this show specifically. But I actually dug Raheem Morris as a coach.
Raheem deserved
but at the same
year.
time, he needed like a player needed. He needed development. He needed maturity. And I actually believe he's going to be a vital. I think he's going to be the most vital threat to the Buccaneers year in and year out for the next few years, as opposed to Carolina and New Orleans. That's my opinion.
Oh yeah, every time he played Tampa, man, he's going to take that game personal.
Oh yes, he will. Yes, he will. Absolutely.
Right there.
Well, look, Mr. Dotson, I thank you very much for coming on to the show. I'd love to be able to keep up and keep in touch with you. Tell me, what do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers record is going to be this season? Give me a prediction.
11. I guarantee 11 wins.
11 wins. Oh, we're winning now. Are we making the wild card, or is 11 wins getting us the division?
Definitely, we're gonna win the division. We're gonna win the division. I don't think Carolina. Yeah.
Look, you guys, you heard it here first.
They gonna win the division.
Hey, you heard it here first from a professional. This is a professional opinion.
Yeah.
Mr. Dotson, you enjoy your evening with your kids. Thank you for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you for coming on to the Plunder, man.
Hey, man, God bless y'all show, man. I wish it much success. I think y'all going to do well, man. I really do appreciate the opportunity you guys gave me.
Thank you very much. You have a good night.
All right, me too.
Well, that was pretty cool.
Now, we're live. Since we're still live, that was your first former player interview, bro. I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right.
That's what we do. How the fuck you feeling?
Let's fucking go. Yeah, man, that was pretty cool. I actually meant everything I said when I said that he was a player that I actually watched all the time. He was quiet. He didn't rah, 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 rah. He would stick up for his teammates. But most of the times, you go back and look at, search his name. Go to Google and search that guy's name, bro. And let me tell you what, you guys do not understand the amount of times that I saw him on camera critiquing himself and talking about how bad a game he played and what he needed to do to get better. So, like, the humility of this guy was awesome. And to hear his story, things that even I didn't know about him being a fan when all I had to do. I mean, you don't know the details and how really, like, you don't understand. Okay, he played 1 year of college football. No, he barely hit the field. He played on defense.
Yeah, you know what's crazy, bro? Is I never thought of that. Like, I knew he played, like, I knew he played basketball.
Athlete.
But never did I expect him to say, hey, man, I played defense. And it's like, wait, what?
Athlete,
Could
athlete.
you imagine, bro, him and Will Goldston on that defensive line?
Dude, that would have been nice to see, bro, to be honest with you.
That would have been fun.
But see, I actually I love the fact that because like I said, we were not only able to keep him and get him in as a starter, but he played, I wouldn't necessarily say on the level of a Tristan Wirfs as far as dominance, but he was a tier below on the dominance level from Tristan Wirfs. He wasn't a guy that you could just push around, and he didn't give up a lot of sacks because he was very good at what he did, and he is a big dude. I've actually got a picture that my niece took, or my stepdaughter took when I brought her to one of the games. I actually showed it to Demar, and he was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like this big, and he's like this big, and I knew how tall she was at the time, and I'm like, "Whoa." I mean, and I've been to games, we've seen him, but he's a big guy. So, but that dude, being able to interview him was, it brings everything and all this hard work to fruition, to really get to the point of being able to have something cool to bring back to you fans. Predictions for the night's game. I see a touchdown pass to Baker Mayfield, from Baker Mayfield. I see the running game getting back on track this week. And I expect the starting defense to set a trend and it to continue. And I expect a victory, 17-10, Tampa Bay.
I'm going to go 13-10. I'm kind of on the same route you are. I do think that you might get a touchdown pass from Baker. I'll go on that. I'm going to say it might be to Jalen McMillan. Because I just like the way that's going to sound to you. I like the way it's going to sound.
It'd make my ears ring based on my prediction if it was Trey Palmer. But, guys, don't forget, tomorrow night, 7 p.m., the prediction show for the season, the prediction show for the 53-man roster. You can always follow me at the Plunder 2023. You can catch Bugdad at Real88. That's REELEIGHTY, the number 8. All right, guys, until tomorrow night, go actually watch the game, catch SmackDown, and tune in later on for Pancakes and Power Bombs, one of the very final shows we have. Later.